couldn't wait. No way, it's Romania Black. I couldn't wait because we are not only finishing Volume 4 of Heaven Official's Blessing, but we're also starting Volume 5, so I could not wait because we only have one chapter left of Volume 4. And after we just found out that the cultivators coming to get Hua Cheng can sense the essence of evil on Xie Lian's lips, I had to know. I had to know what was going to go on, what was going to happen. So we're going to finish up Volume 4 and then do Volume 5. My copy of Volume 6 has not arrived yet, but as soon as it does, I will do a reaction to the cover on here for Patreon and YouTube because I have been very diligent about not looking at the cover. So I do like this cover a lot though. It's just San Long and Xie Lian just braiding each other's hair, having fun at the Poochi shrine. Nothing bad's gonna happen in Volume 5. Everything's gonna be sunshine and roses. I'm sure that is not going to be the case because we have the Brocade Immortal and Ling Wen turns out to be tied to it and potentially could get away in this volume. And with the Brocade Immortal, what do we do with that? There's just a lot that could happen. But I will make note, this is Volume 4. This is Volume 5. Volume 5 is a wee bit bigger. I was like, ooh! Which I have already mapped out the chapters I'm going to be doing for Volume 5. And I will say it's going to carry us through summer. But also, there's going to be some big reading chunks for Romania Black because unlike this volume had lots of little chapters and things that could be separated out and like combined together. There's lots of little chapters. No, this volume here, there are big chapter chunks. It's like 3 to 4 chapter chunks of like 40 to 50 pages, and there's no way to separate them. It's just how it is. And I'm like, oh. So it's giving me very Volume 3 vibes. Volume 3 had some big chunks in it too, and I'm like, are we going to get back into the lore? What's so curious is that this series, there's so much. It's such a dense series that I feel like I have no clue. We still have Volumes 5, 6, 7, and 8 left. We have 4 volumes left after this one. How much story are we getting at, MXTX? How much story are we doing? A lot. So I'm just so fascinated by what we're only halfway through and we've had so much happen. So I'm like, okay. It just, I'm kind of, it's too much for the mind to think about. The mind is trying to comprehend what all we're getting at. And it's like, we still have so much to go. So, but we'll cross Volume 5 once we get to it. We are looking at 2 chapters today, so I don't know how long this reaction and discussion will be, but it just worked out that this was the best way to do it, was doing chapters 135 and 136. 135 being in Volume 4 and 136 being in Volume 5. And then next week, we'll be doing chapters 137 to 139, which is pages 21 through 53. So there'll be a big chunk next week. So there really wasn't any way around it. It was like either do 50 pages or do like 25. And I was like, well, 25. But with that being said, and plus we're ending one volume and starting another. So you know the final chapter of one volume is going to have a lot to talk about, and then the first chapter of the next volume will. So it's just, it seems like it will work out. But I do have a couple comments that popped up this week when I was deciding to read ahead. One is by SQQLBH314, asking this question: why would Hua Cheng accept help from the Waning Moon officer that we think is Yi Yun tied with Qi Ying? That's a really good question. I hadn't really thought about it too much, but yeah, Hua Cheng does not seem like the type to ask for help from anyone. And I said a few sets back that maybe the situation was that Hua Cheng could use the Waning Moon officer Yi Yun as kind of being his eyes within the heavenly realm, but he was banished. So why would Hua Cheng, with a banished heavenly official who cannot go back to the heavenly realm, who has their powers shackled, why would they accept their help? And so I thought about it a little bit, and there's a couple different reasons I think that could be the case. One, I think that Hua Cheng could try to get information about Xie Lian from Yi Yun from him, because he may have known him back then. Xie Lian does not seem to know who he is, but there's a chance that he may have known Xie Lian, because Xie Lian, we know, didn't make friends in the Heavenly Realm, but a lot of Heavenly Realm people know about Xie Lian. So Yi Yun could be one of them, and he could have gave Hua Cheng information. Could be one reason. Two, since he has the cursed shackle, maybe Hua Cheng is investigating ways to break the cursed shackle, and he's been experimenting or using Yi Yun as a reference. I don't know. I feel like Hua Cheng doesn't like the cursed shackle, and so maybe he's trying to break it. I mean, he's a supreme ghost. If anybody's going to challenge Jun Woo, it's Hua Cheng, so I don't know. So there's that. But my biggest reason is that I think, in my heart of hearts, I think that Hua Cheng relates a little bit to Yi Yun, because Yi Yun maybe likes Qi Ying more so than we thought. And maybe Yi Yun had to do something. Maybe the Brocade Immortal being used against Qi Ying, maybe it was a setup. Maybe Yi Yun didn't really mean to use it, but then they had to accept their fate, because who else are they going to pin the blame on? Maybe Ling Wen tied it to Yi Yun and made him be the one to take the blame for something that maybe wasn't his fault. We don't know, but I get the idea that maybe Yi Yun likes Qi Ying, and Qi Ying's so dense, like our cinnamon bun deity, that he doesn't get it, right? And the only thing that challenges that is that in the novel, when they meet, if Yi Yun is the Waning Moon Officer, this is all hinging on if it is in fact Yi Yun that is the Waning Moon Officer. It's when they met in the warehouse, Qi Ying didn't have a reaction to supposed Yi Yun and vice versa. But it could be one of those things where it just wasn't the right time, wasn't the place to bring it up at. I don't know. So that's a really good question, SQQLBH. I don't know the exact answer. Those are kind of my theories that I'm just popping around in my head, but none of them I've really latched onto. So I feel like we need to confirm that it's Yi Yun and get a little bit more info as to why Yi Yun is even with Hua Cheng, because they seem pretty loyal to him. So what's the deal? So that we need more info before I can draw any conclusions, but that's a really good question to ask. Also, it was noted in the Discord that in the English copies of Heaven Official's Blessing, going back to I think chapter, it was way back when in volume 2, when the Windmaster was telling Xie Lian, all they said in the English translation, someone had posted, I think it was Reiki, posted a screenshot of the text, but it just says, the former martial god of the West. And I remember being so confused at the time, because I was like, isn't Qi Ying the martial god of the West? What do you mean former god of the West? What's going on? And everybody was like, not saying a word, which I'm glad y'all didn't spoil me. But at the time I was so confused because I didn't realize. I was like, who are they talking about? But I kind of like that the English translation didn't give Yi Yun's name, because I kind of like that, because it makes it a little bit more of a surprise when you find it out. You're like, oh, that's who the martial god of the West was. Oh, they were working with Qi Ying. Oh, they have history. It was just a big pile of reveals for something that was just barely hinted at in volume 2. And I'm like, oh, I love that. I love that MXTX ties back to these little crumbs of things given away. And MXTX oh, don't worry, we'll come back to it. It's great, right? And then Molly MIGH noted that Pei Ming grows on you like a tumor, which hopefully Pei Ming is not a bad tumor like Shi Wudu and Ling Wen have turned out to be. And by bad, I mean disrupting the heavenly realm and not doing things correctly and possibly being a murderer. And here's the thing. We were talking in that same comment that Shi Wudu, even though they did murder Heshan, they did it out of love for their brother, but it doesn't excuse the fact that it's murder and that you traded someone's life for someone else's, that you weren't supposed to do that. It's still, even though I understand why Shi Wudu did it, and I respect Shi Wudu on a lot of levels, I'm still all of this bad thing, all of this was because of your actions. I'm like, ah! And so I feel like with Ling Wen, we're going to find out the whole story at some point, and it's going to be one of those similar situations. Oh, Ling Wen did this without, because they had to, but I'm still you still killed someone, and your actions inadvertently caused all this damage, and you didn't own up to it. You just tried to hide it. That's the thing that gets me too, is that both Shi Wudu and Ling Wen, neither of them wanted to own up to their actions. They just wanted to sweep it under the rug, pretend like it was not a big deal or that it was someone else's fault, and then move on with their lives. And I'm like, not owning up to something that drastic and that, much of a calamity is pretty crazy. So, I don't know. I don't know what to do with that, but I thank you all for those comments. I really appreciated that. So yeah. Yep. That's pretty much what we got. So I don't know, y'all. I'm really excited to see what these 2 chapters are going to hold for us, but I'm also like, what are we going to get? Because we got to round out volume 4 and then start volume 5. So I am glad that we're starting and ending. I did the math, and I am actually going to be able to end volume 5 in volume 5. I'm not gonna have to start volume 6 when I end it. So Reiki sent me some chapter pictures of the table of contents, but they just blurred out the title of the chapters so I wouldn't be spoiled. Y'all are amazing. Thank you. I cannot thank you enough for being so kind to do that. So yeah, I've been able to map out my chapters. I'm all good to go. I'm excited. It's going to be a fun summer of Heaven Official's Blessing, and I'm excited to share it with you all. So we're not going to waste any more time, though. We need to end this 1 chapter and dive into volume 5. And that's what we're going to do. So we are going to start chapter 135 of Heaven Official's Blessing. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Chapter 135, my Poochi shrine will collapse supremely. What? Oh yeah, that's right, it's your lips. The heaven's eye on the cultivator. Why is it the lips? How can the essence of evil be only on the lips? A lip balm spirit? It is the Blistex ghost. The supreme Blistex ghost. Without thinking, Xie Lian's hands instantly flew to cover his mouth. He hadn't thought that the essence of Hua Cheng had stained upon him, having embraced and kissed an entire night at the Chondang Temple hadn't just faded. I mean, when you make out with him for a whole evening... Well, do you all see? He's conscious of his guilt. Xie Lian immediately dropped his hands and forced himself to suppress the urge to turn around and see what expression Hua Cheng was wearing. Yeah, so he's like, I can't even look at him. I don't even want to know. I want to know what his expression is, but even though his face was covered in bandages and nothing could have been determined anyway. Oh, I'm sure maybe something could have been determined. He explained, my fellow Dao friend, you're mistaken. Actually, it's because my living is a little strained, so each household item is used for various purposes. Like this pot. He raised the clay pot in his hand and said earnestly, although I use this to catch ghosts sometimes, normally I use it to pickle vegetables. The pickles picked in this pot have a unique flavor. Once you eat it, you'll naturally... I mean, if you don't believe me, you can all try it yourself. It's not... I didn't kiss Hua Cheng. It's the pickles. Xie Lian, you're ridiculous. No. Technically, this wasn't impossible. The monks and cultivators were all somewhat doubtful, but the villagers all covered their mouths too. Oh, Zhao Dazhong, does this mean that all the pickles you gave us from before were pickled like this too? Won't our mouths be full of the evil essence of evil too? Usually when the villagers offered him fruits and vegetables, he would return his gratitude by giving them pickled vegetables. He quickly waved his hand. I was like, my mother does the same thing. She jars pickles and gives them out as gifts. So, oh my God. Don't worry, the jars I use to pickle for everyone else are different. Conveniently. Heaven's eye said angrily, are you dumb in the head? Aren't you afraid of eating stuff like this will cut down your lifespan? Stop wasting your breath. There are still people hidden in your shrine, and it's not just one person. Move aside. This time, afraid that the village head would stop him again, before he even finished speaking, he charged forward. Seeing the situation change so quickly, Xie Lian hurriedly backed into the house. He picked up the passed-out Chan Yijin off the ground, madly shook his collar, and cried next to his ear, Qi Ying, listen, well, I'm going to feed you an incorruptible chastity meatball. Hearing this, Chan Yijin's eyes suddenly flashed open. At the same time, Heaven's eyes, who had just charged in, shrieked, covered his forehead, and leapt back. Don't anyone go in, there's an ambush! Sure enough, the crowd of monks and cultivators didn't dare move. They gathered round to shield him. Heaven Eyes Zhang, what do you see? I didn't see anything, only an immense blinding white light. Ah! Oh no, Dao Zhang, your Heaven's Eye is smoking. Heaven's Eye felt his forehead, and sure enough, the red mark on his forehead had turned into a black mark and was emitting a soft waft of white smoke like a blown-out candle. What? Ling Wen lazily put down her half-eaten steam bun and wondered, it's so noisy outside. What's going on? A monk said, Heaven's Eye, Zhang, look, there are 2 children and a woman, plus this cultivator inside the shrine. There are 4 people. Which one is him? Heaven's Eye rubbed hard at his forehead, but he just couldn't reopen his eye. The ball of white light was the spiritual aura of Chan Yizhen. When heavenly officials sensed themselves about to face extreme danger, their lives challenged, the spiritual aura shielding their body would explosively expand. Ah! I love it. Xie Lian was using that moment of explosively strong light to blind the cultivator's Heaven's Eye. It wasn't like Xie Lian had ruined 10 years of his cultivation. He just wouldn't be able to open his eye for the next few days. That was all. Bold. Then Xie Lian picked up the plate holding the meatballs. Chan Yizhen was fully awake now, and he grabbed Xie Lian's hand forcefully, croaking, I won't eat it! Xie Lian reversed the hold and held his hand. Don't be scared, this isn't for you. The band of masters heavily surrounding the Poochi shrine all shared looks with each other and almost uniformly shouted, rushing forward. However, before Xie Lian could meet them, they were bounced away by an invisible barrier. From the sky above, a deep voice sounded. You old monks and foul cultivators are like flies. Have you all become obsessed with harassment? You dare pursue me all the way here. Are you tired of living? Hua, hua, hua. He stirred Hua several times, but in the end, Heaven's Eye still succumbed to Hua Cheng's might and didn't dare call him by his full name. Instead, he stammered, Hua Chengju, stop bluffing. We all know that you've been affected by the imminent opening of Mount Tonglu and sealed away your powers. You can't possibly be insolent as you usually are right now. Surrender yourself. The more he spoke, the less strength there was in his words. Xie Lian could sense Hua Cheng was really angry now, and immediately he rushed back inside to pick him up. He whispered, Don't dare say any more. Stop wasting your powers. Store your strength. Leave everything to me. Hua Cheng's body was tense at first, but after he was picked up, he seemed to calm down slowly. He replied with a low voice, All right. I just love that Xie Lian just picked him up like a case, like, don't do this. Holding him, Xie Lian could sense that Hua Cheng's age seemed to have regressed again. He was probably no more than a child of 12 or 13. Xie Lian couldn't help but be worried. With one arm holding Hua Cheng, the other arm clutching Feng Xin, he walked out. Oh my God, what a visual! Did none of you ever consider that the ghost Qi Rong was deceiving you? Yet unexpectedly, when they heard him, the monks and cultivators all looked confused. Green ghost Qi Rong deceive us what? Why would he deceive us? Wasn't it him who told you to all come here? He clicked his tongue. Who do you think you are, that we would need a savage to pass us information? Why would we float on the same boat as him? If it wasn't Qi Rong, then how'd the information leak? Before he could think about it, the monks and cultivators had already started their attacks. With a swing of his sword, Xie Lian warded off a number of swords and several staffs. A monk questioned, Amitabha Buddha, why must this Tao friend protect this creature of evil? Xie Lian wouldn't back down an inch and replied, Master, no matter what, it's not nice to ambush people when they're down. He's a ghost, not a person. Don't twist rotten logic, you immature youngin'. Calling Xie Lian an immature youngin', oh my God. Spiritual staffs and treasured swords and blades all came attacking at once. If Xie Lian used Feng Xin, he might hurt mortals. By the creed of justice, mortals could hit heavenly officials, but heavenly officials could not hit mortals. Heavenly officials must be tolerant, generous, compassionate, and loving towards mortals, not clashing with them. If one dared hit a mortal, then merits would be taken. Xie Lian wasn't as unrestrained and wealthy as Chan Yizhen. He didn't have many merits in the first place. If more were taken away, he'd be in the negatives. Thus, he put away his sword and shouted, Ruyi, come! Qi Ying, watch Ling Wen! When Ruyi bound men, it was always aggrieved, but when it bound women, it changed face. Xie Lian had to call for it twice before it reluctantly peeled itself off Ling Wen's hands. Oh no! The next second, a white flash whipped past the hands of tens of people. When their strength became unsteady, they could no longer hold on to their spiritual tools. Bewildered, they all wondered, what spiritual tool is that? Was that a spiritual tool? How come it looks like a white cloth for hanging to me? It reeks of evil. What do you know? This brat actually has a couple moves. Unexpectedly, just as Xie Lian was in the midst of fending off those masters, Ling Wen shook her head, cleaned her sleeves, and rose to her feet. Thank you for your warm hospitality. I'll take my leave now. Xie Lian was taken aback. Ling Wen, the day's not over yet. Where are you going? Are you going to break your vow? That's right. I'm going to break my vow, Ling Wen said. Her voice was confident and determined, like what she was saying was about to slay evil by heaven's will. Xie Lian couldn't retaliate. A brief moment later, he stated, the one who leaked information, wasn't she wrong? It was you. I may not be a martial god and was bound by Ryuyi, but one can accomplish much with just the communication array. He knew it, but how did Ling Wen know that bandaged boy was Hua Cheng? She barely spoke to him, barely saw him. Even Xie Lian hadn't figured out as fast as she did. Seeing that she was about to take her stately leave, but Xie Lian still couldn't get away, he shouted, Qi Ying, don't let her get away! Although he ate an incorruptible chastity meatball earlier, Chan Yizhen could move himself off the ground now, his strength returning. Besides, Ling Wen was a civil god. She was powerless, and Chan Yizhen could stop her without using a single finger. Hearing Chan Yizhen acknowledge, okay, from afar, Xie Lian relaxed and went back to fighting the crowd. A moment later, there was a sudden rumble, and the roof of Poochi Shrine was punched through. A silhouette of a figure was blown high into the air. Xie Lian looked back, shocked, and shouted to the interior of the shrine, Qi Ying, don't fight like that! It was nothing for martial gods to get tossed around. Martial gods all grew up getting beaten. But no matter how you looked at it, Ling Wen was a lady, heavenly official, and a civil god at that. If Chan Yizhen fought so ruthlessly, she'd be pulverized. Yet the figure who walked out leisurely said, Bai Jing, don't fight like that. The voice was cold and crisp, very obviously belonging to Ling Wen. Yet in the moment she walked out, Xie Lian felt he saw a fleeting illusion, like the one who came out wasn't Ling Wen, but an extremely tall man, the aura of vengeance roaring to the heavens. However, when Xie Lian focused his eyes, it was still the lone figure of Ling Wen. Ling Wen was a civil god, that was for certain. If she had hidden her strength intentionally in the past, she still couldn't deceive Xie Lian, so how could she suddenly blow Chan Yizhen into the sky? Hua Cheng whispered, Gege, be careful, she put on that robe. Oh! So that was it. Although on the surface it looked like Ling Wen was still clad in black, a simmering black aura was shielding her, seeming like she had changed into a completely different person. The killing intent was running wild, but her blanched face was extremely calm, and this formed a peculiar contrast. Xie Lian tried testing the waters by lunging at her with his sword, and Ling Wen deflected the bow with a wave of her sleeve. Coincidentally, Chan Yizhen came crashing down from above and fell to the ground with a bang, just in time to witness the scene. Instantly, his eyes lit up. Beautiful! Xie Lian's eyes lit up too and also exclaimed, beautiful! Ling Wen's move now was just truly a beautiful one. No, it should be said, what was beautiful was the move the Brocade Immortal used to help Ling Wen block the attack. When the Brocade Immortal was donned by others, either they lost their minds or their blood was sucked dry. However, when donned by Ling Wen, not a single weapon could pierce through. She could even attack aggressively, instantly allowing a civil god to blow the martial god of the West away. No one had ever heard of that the Brocade Immortal had this incredible ability. Who would have thought that after she chopped off the head and limbs of that Brocade Immortal, it would still allow itself to be used by her? Something else is going on, right? Now, not only were the villagers of Poochi shocked, even the band of monks and cultivators were stunned. Heaven's Eye exclaimed, what beautiful? Is it so good to be hit? Is there anyone normal inside that shrine? I think not a single soul there is human. Chan Yizhen was itching to spar, and he leapt to his feet to attack at once. Ling Wen said in a low voice, I said, don't linger around. Those words were directed at the Brocade Immortal, but her body wouldn't listen to her, and her elbow blocked Chan Yizhen's punch before they proceeded to start an all-out brawl. Fighting and parrying and fighting, the blows of fists and palms shocked the old walls of the Poochi Shrine, and it looked like it was ready to collapse. As expected of the Brocade Immortal with the potential to ascend, even Chan Yizhen was falling behind. Xie Lian couldn't help but cry, excuse me, can you both fight further away? Further away, please! But before he finished this sentence, those monks and cultivators came surrounding him again, some 40 to 50 blades, swords, axes, staffs, all crashing forward. And Xie Lian's face dropped, raising his hands. Oh, wait, no, don't! No! Amidst the tragic wail, Poochi Shrine, having withstood countless battering, but still remaining standing, finally, truly, completely collapsed. Xie Lian was dumbfounded. Desolation filled his heart. I just knew none of my houses would last for over half a year. Now I really need to beg for donations for reconstruction. Aww! Gege, don't be sad. It's just a house. There's plenty around, Hua Cheng comforted. Xie Lian tried to make himself stay strong, but then Heaven's Eye came stumbling over, his hand covering his forehead, and he pointed at him. You youngin' with nothing but tricks! You dare ruin my cultivation. Who's your master? What generation do you belong to? Which temple are you registered under? What sort of god do you worship? Xie Lian whipped his head over, and a biting chill flashed before his face. He straightened and stated solemnly, You ask who I am? Listen well, I am the Eminent Highness, the Crown Prince. You riotous radicals, bow down before me! His voice boomed like thunder in clear skies. There were actually a few almost dropped to their knees and didn't snap out of it until their companions pulled them up. What are you doing? Are you actually kneeling? That's weird. I did it before I realized it. Xie Lian proclaimed sharply, I am over 800, older than all of you combined. I've crossed more bridges than all the roads you've walked. I possess shrines and temples across this land. My devotees and worshippers are spread to all 4 seas. If you don't know my name, it is because you are ignorant and unlearned of the world. I do not worship gods. I am God. Oh! When the mob heard this speech, it was so shameless, yet spoken with incomparably impressive air. They were stunned and then dropped their jaws. Huh? Xie Lian made up all that nonsense because he was waiting for this very moment. He flung that plate in his hand, and those little white meatballs shot through the air like iron pellets, scattering in all directions. Without any misses, they were hurled right into the open mouths of all the people in shock. Then he wiped away his sweat. Will everyone please forget what I just said? I'm actually only just a scrap collector. Ah! Everyone who ate a meatball instantly dropped their expressions. Oh, we've been had! A few who were quicker on their feet actually stopped the meatball with their swords. But when they brought up the swords, the meatballs were actually spinning rapidly, creating sparks from the blades of the friction. The mob was terrified. What is this hidden weapon? Incomparably solid with a peculiar shrine. Could this be the legendary? That's right. Xie Lian claimed. They're the legendary incorruptible chastity pellets, exceedingly poisonous. And if 81 cups of clean water aren't drunk within a day to detox, they will explode in your stomach. Although no one had ever heard of such a thing before, the mob grew even more horrified. Oh, is it really that poisonous? Either way, we gotta go drink water. The only antidote is water. Let's get out of here. Go find water. In an instant, a large portion of the crowd who had fallen for the trick fled. On the other side, Lingwen was fighting more and more aggressively, and she actually had both hands strangling Chuan Yizhen as she picked him up. Despite having the upper hand, Lingwen didn't look pleased at all, and she barked with a low voice, Bai Jing, are you going to kill him? There's no need to fight anymore. Let's just go. Fortunately, Xie Lian had 1 meatball left, and just as Lingwen said the word go, with his swift hands he lobbed a meatball into her mouth. Instantly, the light in Lingwen's eyes was extinguished, and it had been sucked out by the thing she swallowed. The black aura surrounding her person also lightened a shade. With an expression like she was forcing back the urge to vomit, she glanced at Xie Lian, her lips soundlessly quivering. After enduring for a while, she threw Chuan Yizhen onto the ground and left with her hand supporting her temple. Chuan Yizhen jumped to his feet, chasing after her. Xie Lian had wanted to follow after them too, but that mob of monks and cultivators had blocked his way. They shouted, everyone hang on, more reinforcements are on their way. More? He couldn't stay in Poochi village any longer. He best leave first and think later. In hot pursuit of Lingwen, Chuan Yizhen soon disappeared. Xie Lian cradled Hua Cheng in his arms and said, hold on tight to me. Then, tipping his feet to bolt, he outpaced the mob and fled. Hua Cheng followed his instruction and embraced him tightly. For some reason, the scene felt familiar to Xie Lian, but he had no time to reminisce about the past. This affair needed to be reported to the court as soon as possible. Without thinking, he sent a message to the private communication array. Lingwen, something's happened. I know. I'm so sorry to bother you. An instant later, it was Ling Wen who cut off the communication first. Xie Lian was speechless too. In the past, he'd always communicated directly with Ling Wen. Now that it was Ling Wen herself who was the problem, he hadn't yet had the time to wrap his head around it, and actually reported the incident to her. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Xie Lian entered the public communication array and yelled as he dashed with Hua Cheng in his arms. Everyone, please alert the whole court. Ling Wen has run away wearing the brocade immortal. Oh my god, what a chapter! Oh my god! Ah! Ah! Okay. Alright. Alright, we got one more chapter. What an end to volume 4. And my dog is down here at my feet wanting me to rub their belly, and I would if they'd stay there. Alright. Chapter 136. Okay, my Poochi shrine will collapse supremely 2, part 2. Good. I'm glad that we're doing all the parts together. Good. Yet unexpectedly, no one in the spiritual communication array was listening to them. It was like something big had happened. And every heavenly official was blabbering noisily. Xie Lian heard Feng Xin yell, "Your Highness, did you say something? It's really chaotic here right now." Feng Xin, I said Ling Wen was the one who created the brocade immortal. She's running away wearing it. Watch out for her. What? That's happened? Xie Lian was about to expand on the details when the noise by his ear abruptly stopped and nothing more could be heard. Taken aback, he tried calling again. Everyone, is everyone still there? He called a couple times, but no one answered. It's no use. The spiritual communication array of the upper court was set up by Ling Wen. She must have broken it up just now. It'll need to be rebuilt. What should we do then? I like that Hua Cheng knew that. Usually, when he communicated with the upper court, it was through spiritual communication arrays, through Ling Wen directly, or through the Wind Master. He didn't know the verbal password of any of the other heavenly officials. Now that he could no longer depend on Ling Wen or the Wind Master, and the communication array was destroyed, what should he do? Hua Cheng seemed to see through his worries and said, "Don't worry. Didn't Gege already report the key issue? Not all the heavenly officials of the upper courts are idiots. And Junwu is also in the heavenly court right now. It'll be fine once the message passes through." Xie Lian thought that too and nodded. After his mad dash, they'd already crossed through the several mountaintops, leaving those masters far behind. But it seemed they wouldn't be able to keep up with the brocade immortal and Chan Yizhen after all. Hua Cheng added, "If Gege still wants to investigate the brocade immortal, you'll have to hurry." However, Xie Lian shook his head. That was before. Qi Ying's already chasing after Ling Wen, so right now we've got more important matters on our hands. San Long, your form, it seems to have changed again. Before, when Hua Cheng was disguised as Long Ying, he had the appearance of a 15 to 16-year-old boy, and it wasn't easy for Xie Lian to carry him. Even though he could, it didn't look good. But now, Hua Cheng's body seemed to have shrunk in size, looking to be at most 11 or 12. Xie Lian could carry him single-handedly and have him perch on his arm. Be as that may, Hua Cheng's air of steady calm had never wavered. It's a non-issue. Changing form is only a temporary plan. After this whole thing is over, my old self will return. He unwrapped the bandages on his head as he spoke. On that snow-white face, a pair of deep black eyes watched Xie Lian. Between his brows were still shadows of that handsome young man. It was clearly the face of a child, but his air and expression had the laid-backness he had always assumed. Xie Lian watched him dazedly, not speaking a word. Hua Cheng frowned slightly. "Your Highness, you..." Suddenly, Xie Lian's other hand reached out and squeezed his cheek. This was so out of the blue, Hua Cheng widened his eyes and his face changed shape from squishing. "Gege! I'm sorry! So long, but you're too cute. I can't help myself." Xie Lian squished him tenderly and said gently, "Then so long, are you going to keep changing? Are you going to turn into a toddler, a 5 or 6, or even better, a little baby?" Hearing his hopeful voice, Hua Cheng replied helpfully, "I'm afraid I will have to disappoint Gege." Xie Lian dropped his hand and grinned. "Nonsense. San Long has never disappointed me. I'm really happy to have this chance to protect you." "However," Hua Cheng said glumly, "I'm not happy." "How come?" His voice turned cold. "I hate looking like this." Xie Lian could detect a trace of loathing in his voice and was slightly taken aback. Hua Cheng lowered his head. I don't want you to see me in such a helpless form. And I absolutely didn't want you to have to protect me. Maybe it was because Hua Cheng's age has diminished that his emotions seemed to be unsettled. Xie Lian felt his heart stir, and he hurriedly hugged him in his arms, lightly patting his back as he laughed. Well, then, according to that logic, I might as well just die, since you've seen me in messes so many times. Besides, it's not like you're completely useless now. You're just temporarily storing your power, that's all. Hua Cheng buried his face in his shoulder and grumbled in a muffled voice. It's not the same. Your Highness, I have to be the strongest. I have to make myself stronger than anyone else. Only then can I. His voice faltered. Although his voice was young and tender at the moment, there was a faint trace of abiding fatigue. Xie Lian soothed, you've always been the strongest. But you don't need to be strong every waking moment of every day. Just think of this as giving me some face. And let me protect you this once, please, okay? It was a long time before Hua Cheng lifted his head from his hug and placed his hands on Xie Lian's shoulders, watching him. Your Highness, wait for me. All right, I'll wait for you, Xie Lian promised. Hua Cheng assured again, very seriously, give me a little time. I'll be back very soon. Xie Lian smiled, no rush, go at your own pace. The next day, the two came to a very small town. Xie Lian was holding Hua Cheng's hand, and this pair of adult and child strolled along the streets, chatting leisurely. Xie Lian asked, with the reopening of Mount Tonglu, all the preceding ghost kings are affected by the tremors. Does this mean that Blackwater is the same? Hua Cheng had one hand corded behind his back, and the other, as he held hands with Xie Lian with the other, he replied, yes, but our situation is different. Our training methods are different, and so naturally our ways of resisting provocation are also different. For example, how does he resist aggravation? Hibernation, probably, Hua Cheng replied. The phrase, eat when hungry, sleep when full, appeared in Xie Lian's mind. When Blackwater was immortal, he suffered the torment of jail, with only one meal every 3 days. Even if he was given swill, he had to swallow it down. Hunger ruined his stomach. Sometimes he'd feed nonstop. Sometimes he'd reject eating anything at all. No wonder he was so impressive in devouring everything, Xie Lian mused. In truth, in Heshan's situation, he could only focus on devouring hungry ghosts. Because he possessed that attribute by nature, hungry ghosts should be more to his taste. Yet in all 500-some ghosts and demons devoured by the Blackwater demon Jean, the majority were water ghouls. It must be because he remembered the face of Shi Wudu, and in order to break his water magic, Heshan picked such meals intentionally. When he swallowed too much, after a while, he would need to slumber to digest. Indeed, Hua Cheng said, I might well mention that Qi Rong feasting on human flesh was him trying to imitate Heshan on purpose. Ah! Xie Lian was speechless for a moment and thought, how can feeding on humans be the same as feeding on ghosts? Then after pondering, he asks, then that forest of the upside-down corpses, could it be he was trying to imitate you? Then after pondering, correct, because he wanted to achieve the same bloody rain scenery, but didn't know how I did it. He simply and vulgarly hung rows of dead bodies in the air. Oh, wow, okay. Today, Xie Lian could finally understand completely why every time Qi Rong was mentioned, no one knew what to say. He had all the appearance, but none of the class. Xie Lian sighed as he thought, Qi Rong has taken Guzi away. Who knows if the poor child was eaten or abandoned? When Master, who knows if Blackwater took him away? I pray they're both safe. Then he asked, what about your ghost city? Won't anyone go stir up trouble there? Hua Cheng replied, I've locked up the ghost city when I left and leaked some false information on my whereabouts. Even if anyone tries to start trouble, if they can't find me, they won't be too hard on them. But I'm sure there are plenty of eyes watching that place right now. Hua Cheng couldn't return to the ghost city, and Xie Lian couldn't take him to the heavens either, lest he be exposed as a heavenly official. So the two frolicked in the crowds of the mortal realm without a destination in mind. Xie Lian slightly knitted his brows. You leaked false information, but Ling Wen leaked real information. I still don't understand how she was able to see through your Long Ying disguise. What I don't understand is something else, Hua Cheng said. What? That foul cultivator, Heaven's Eyes. I've played him a couple times. His skills aren't bad, Hua Cheng said. Oh, it's true. He's really got the talent and put in the effort. Yeah, so why would he say that Gege's lips were covered in the essence of evil? Hua Cheng questioned. Xie Lian's hands instantly clenched, but when he remembered he was still holding hands with Hua Cheng, he immediately loosened his grip. Hua Cheng pressed with a low voice, Gege, don't blow me off with words you'd use to placate idiots. Tell me just exactly what I did to you that night. It's not what you did to me, more like what I did to you, Xie Lian thought. Suddenly his eyes lit up. Wait, Sun Long, look over there! Gege? Hua Cheng questioned, but Xie Lian was already pulling him into a luxurious and lavish store on the road. The owner at the counter looked at the pair of them up and down, a curious combination of a cultivator and a layman. The owner asked, what can I do for you, Dao Zhang? Xie Lian lifted Hua Cheng up and smiled. It's not for me, it's for him. Hua Cheng tilted his head in his arms. An instant's time later, Hua Cheng emerged from the back of the store. Long Ying's clothes from before, fit for a 15 or 16-year-old, no longer fit the current Hua Cheng, so Xie Lian picked out a new outfit especially for him. The moment he emerged, Xie Lian's eyes brightened. What a skin as white as snow, little young master. Donning a robe as red as maple fire and a pair of deer leather boots hung with silver chains, Hua Cheng was both handsome and spirited. His raven locks were loose before, but only had a single thin braid next to his right cheek, and Xie Lian couldn't help but braid another one on his left to match, making him look even more sprightly. It was really too much, however, with his expression. What was really too much, however, was his expression. His eyes were vivacious and bright, his air calm and steady, looking nothing like a child. Such a contrast, it made it hard to look away. The ladies shopping in the store were all stunned, and they gathered around in a circle, their hands clutching their hearts as they cried, "Ah!" in appreciation. Hua Cheng leisurely approached Xie Lian, and Xie Lian clapped lightly. Oh, I knew it! Sun Long looks the best in red after all. Hua Cheng helplessly pulled at the little braid on his left and grumbled, as long as Gege is happy. Oh, nice. You knew Hua Cheng liked getting dressed up, so you just calmly averted the situation by playing dress up. Xie Lian lowered his arm to seize his hand and smiled as they went to the storefront, ready to pay. Hua Cheng's outfit wasn't cheap, and Xie Lian didn't have much money to spare, so usually he wouldn't have entered such a store. However, he had saved up a small fortune from renovating the shrine, and now that there was nothing left to renovate, he could just buy Hua Cheng some clothes first before he worried about anything else. Just as he was counting out his coins one by one, Hua Cheng squished over to his side and slapped a gold foil on the counter. There was no need for change. Come on, Gege, let's go. Ah! He tugged at the corner of Xie Lian's sleeve and exited the store. With his hands at his sides, Xie Lian smiled and took a few steps too, and suddenly Hua Cheng backtracked and came back, bumping into his arms. Xie Lian held his shoulders and asked, What's wrong? Then he looked up and saw the shadow of a figure in the flowing crowd on the streets, and his heart lurched too. Coincidentally, the store owner asked, Would you two still like to purchase something else? Xie Lian raised his hand. Yes. Please bring me that robe. What? What? No! No! Damn it! No! Ah! Why? Just. MXTX, why? Why are you giving us all of these cliffhangers right now? We just started Volume 5. We just started it, and you already have given us a cliffhanger. Why? I do apologize. I have gained an extra dog alongside Huckleberry. I now have Ruby, too, and Ruby is not used to the reaction schedule, so there may be a little bit of barking going on because she doesn't know. Huckleberry is used to it. He's just like, I get exactly what you're doing. But Ruby doesn't know about the reactions yet, so that may be a little bit of an adjustment. But so these chapters went by so fast. I was like, dang it, but I'm not going to start any new ones because next week I've got a schedule, I've got a set, I know what I'm going to do. But man, so the moral of the story is make sure that your main IT person isn't evil. Here's the thing, I don't think Ling Wen's evil. I think just like every every other story that's happened so far in this series, there's more to it that meets the eye. But the moral of the story is to make sure your IT person isn't also possibly corrupt and could leave, or that you have a backup in place when they go, because it looks like without Ling Wen there, who pulled her weight and did everything for everyone, things are falling apart. So yeah, the Heavenly Realm, I don't envy Junwoo right now, who's just probably sitting there like, what do we do? So, but these chapters, there's a lot going on, and I have a feeling as the Poochi Shrine has sadly collapsed, that this next, from here on in, the story is going to be like, things are going to go to hell in a handbasket, because we've got a lot of stuff going on, and things are getting shady, and Xie Lian's like, I didn't do this. Although it all is tied to Xie Lian, everything is tied to Xie Lian and Hua Cheng that's going awry, because we have lots of things happening, right? We have Mount Tong. Oh no, this marker has completely dried up. How sad. Let me get another one then. So we have Mount Tonglu. Mount Tonglu has opened. So there's the possibility of the new Supreme. Possibility of the new Supreme Ghost. We'll talk about the Blackwater and all this too. So there's that. It has caused Hua Cheng to have to regress into a child form, which I have things to say about that when we get to it. So Hua Cheng is storing his energy in this child form. Okay, we're going to talk about that. So doing that. We also don't know anything about Long Ying. Long Ying is not, like, we do have the confirmation that Hua Cheng, we found out in the last chapter set, Hua Cheng this is him. He's just basically, he's reverted himself into child form to store his energy, and for other reasons, which we'll talk about. But Long Ying is supposedly being kept in the Ghost City. Now, do I believe Long Ying is going to stay in the Ghost City? Hell no. I think that he's going to end up going to Mount Tonglu, but that's just my theory. That's my theory that he's going to go to Mount Tonglu, but we don't know this, right? That Long Ying is going to become a Supreme Ghost. That's my theory. I don't know. We'll see where that goes, right? But we have that, and then we also know that Qi-Rong, which we find some interesting stuff out about Qi-Rong. We'll talk about him, but Qi-Rong is on the run. With Guzi. Has he ate Guzi? No, I don't think that Qi-Rong has ate Guzi. I think he's kept him alive. Now, whether it's out of pure spite, or Qi-Rong literally can't eat him, or the remnants of the father is keeping him from doing so, whatever. Or because he's in the dad's body, he can't technically eat the kid. We're just going to go with that. But I think Guzi's safe. I think Guzi right now is okay. And then, meanwhile, Ling Wen is on the run, wearing the brocade immortal, which we'll talk about that. That opens up a whole thing. And then Qi Ying, get this right, Qi Ying is battling her. That is such like a revelation. It's so crazy. And Whiteboard Coon is creaking a little bit, so you'll have to excuse Whiteboard Coon. Is battling her right now. And then the Heavenly Realm is in chaos. But it is worth noting that Feng Xin, he heard Xie Lian and knows about Ling Wen. So I am glad that Xie Lian managed to reach somebody, and of all people it was Feng Xin, because he seems like he'd be the responsible one, that he is very like, take it seriously, do it by the books. He would tell everybody about the situation. So I feel like if he told Mu Qing would be like, I don't know if I should talk about it. But I feel like Feng Xin will, because, or he'll at least tell Junwoo. So Junwoo will know. And the fact that Hua Cheng told him, like, you spread the message, they're going to figure it out. I feel like Hua Cheng is not the type of person to sugarcoat anything or to lie for the sake of lying, like Xie Lian. I feel like Hua Cheng's very honest and very sincere. He said he was the most sincere person. So I think he sincerely was like, everything will be fine. you can't do anything more to remedy the situation in the heavenly realm because of lots of reasons, which we'll get into when we talk about in this chapter set. But so all this is like craziness going on. The shrine is collapsed. I'm like, no, we'll talk about that, but the shrine is collapsed. We're going to talk about it. I'm so sad. The shrine is collapsed. The Blackwater, Hua Cheng thinks is hibernating. We'll talk about that, about the hibernation, the whole aspect of it. And yeah, so it's just a mess. Everything is chaos right now. And I have a feeling that it's like Xie Lian's third ascension was like the little domino that tipped over. And slowly it's been building up to this bigger and bigger and bigger domino, right? It's the meme where somebody tips over the little domino and it leads to this big one. I feel like that's his third ascension. For whatever reason, we still don't know why Xie Lian ascended the third time. We don't know what he was doing. He was collecting scraps as far as we know. Why did he ascend the third time? So I'm going to put down here, I want to put over here questions. Some very specific questions that I have going into volume 5. Because we're going to put volume 5 questions. And put them here. So going into this, the idea of the third ascension, because I do believe that at this point, we are halfway through the story. We're halfway through the story. We're in volume 5. We still have 4 volumes to go. And at this point, things are starting to all get chaotic and run amok, right? And usually in a narrative structure, especially a dramatic story or a fantasy or something with action, things always get worse before they get better. Like I fully believe volume 7 is going to be like miserable. I'm already picturing it. Volume 7 is going to be tragic as F because it's just like usually you put your characters in the darkest places before they rise back up. I think of Modao Zushi, and I will spoil Modao Zushi for the next 30 seconds. So just, if you don't want to hear about Modao Zushi spoilers, skip 30 seconds and come back to this. But I'll hold my hand up while I'm doing Modao Zushi spoilers. But in Modao Zushi, the darkest parts of the story is when, because it's a romance, is when, you know, Wei Wuxian and Lan Wangji have their falling out, and then Wei Wuxian gets captured by Yao. So that's like the darkest part of the stories, which in comparison to this, Modao Zushi doesn't seem quite as tragic, actually. So I'm like, oh shit. But that's honestly the darkest part of the story. It gets really dark, and then things go on the upswing. So it's like, okay, all right. So I'm fully convinced, and I don't want you all to confirm or deconfirm, but my theory is volume 7 is going to be real rough. And then volume 8, the final volume, is going to be like, ta-da! Because you know we're ending on a happy ending. MXTX is not going to do that to us. They're going to end on a happy ending, but we just got to get there first. But I have a feeling that this is kind of the tipping point of everything is going to get chaotic and crazy from here on in. And we're just going to be like, you know, what do we do with that, right? What do we do with this? Because, yeah, so the third ascension, I feel, is the catalyst for all of this starting. The third ascension in volume 1, like, tipped over the first domino to lay the foundation of all this craziness. Because Xie Lian, he ascended, he met San Long. There has to be a justification behind that. Like, why did they just meet now of all times? He met the Wind Master and started that whole thing. They went to Banyu, and the whole incident with Pei Jr. like caused Pei Ming and the ridicule around it, and got Pei Ming invested in Xie Lian and San Long. So it's led to that trajectory, and then has led to the whole thing with Xie Lian investigating the stuff with the Wind Master. Which led to Ling Wen. Like, everything is all connected and is led from one thing to another, and it's just gone from like bad to worse the whole time. But Xie Lian has kind of taken it all in stride, because they're like, well, I've been in the worst of the worst. I've been at rock bottom. You can't go back again, right? So Xie Lian's just like, you guys want to join me at rock bottom? It's not so bad. But yeah, the third ascension is still curious, as well as the second ascension. Like, we've learned enough about the first one from volume 3, but the second ascension's being kept mysterious. The third ascension, why Xie Lian ascended a third time, I don't know. The question of if that third ascension is tied to Hua Cheng's appearance, right? If it's tied to Hua Cheng's appearance, like, did Hua Cheng have something to do with that ascension? Like, what? Because, yeah, it seems almost curious that Hua Cheng doesn't show up to properly meet Xie Lian after 800 years until that third ascension. Something seems up with that. Something seems connected. And I have a feeling we're going to find out what's going on with that. We just have to get there first, right? So we're going to put questions here, Hua Cheng stuff here. But this all is just, it's just, there's a lot of chaos going on. And there's a lot to keep track of. We haven't even, and the Waning Moon Officer, they disappeared. So we still have lots of things about the Waning Moon Officer. The Waning Moon Officer, ties to them. I don't even know. Like, I'm going to put that under questions. The Waning Moon Officer. I'm going to put down the Waning Moon Officer. Why work with Hua Cheng? Going to put that there. Questions to ask. But yeah, but things are kind of chaotic and insane right now. And I think that that is by design, because it's going to make it to where things are just like, what do we do? Where do we go? What's going to happen? And nobody really knows the answer. So let's get into these chapters. The Heavenly Eye, I like to call him Heaven's Eye. The cultivator officially has a name, Heaven's Eye. Talking about why the lips. I love that they say it's like a lip balm spirit. All I can think of is like somebody putting like a lip balm and it's like a ghost. I'm thinking of like Mob Psycho 100. It's really funny. But he's like, Xie Lian spends these 2 chapters trying to dodge the bullet and cover up what they feel is something that Hua Cheng would be ashamed of. The miscommunication here, we've done so good so far in the story of not having any miscommunications between Hua Cheng and Xie Lian. They've been very open with each other, very communicative. But the moment it gets to something like romance and attraction, they're suddenly like, oh! And I feel like that's kind of true to real life. When you have a crush on someone, you want to present yourself in the best light. And that's what Hua Cheng has been doing. And Xie Lian, now that he's realized he kind of does have a crush on Hua Cheng, he's kind of like, I don't want him to think bad of me. And so he thinks like, he's like, oh, I took advantage of Hua Cheng, when I'm like, Xie Lian. But he doesn't want Hua Cheng to know about that, right? So it's very frustrating because we've done so well not having miscommunication. And now for the first time, we're having miscommunication. And Xie Lian is trying everything in his power to not let Hua Cheng know about what's going on. It's just, right? So Xie Lian tries to mask it up by saying that it's the jars. Like, he's like, oh, well, I have these spiritual pickles. Again, they're not eggplants, but, you know, eggplants are usually like a symbolic representation of something phallic. A pickle is a similar shape. A cucumber is a similar shape. So I just love the idea that Xie Lian's like, I've been sucking on these pickles. It's like, have you now? And the villagers are like, wait, we've been sucking on pickles too. Are we possessed by evil spirits? And Xie Lian's like, oh, no. Conveniently, your jars your pickles that you're sucking aren't the ones that are spiritually compromised. It's just the ones I'm sucking. And I'm like, MXTX just casually getting away with this, like, and you wouldn't even know. I'm just putting all your minds in the gutters now, because when I read that, I was like, oh, really? Okay, sure, Xie Lian. He's like, no, this my pickles, the pickles I suck are different than yours. Mine just leave me with spiritual residue on my lips. So yeah, and the Heaven's Eye gets really angry at this, and he's like, what is going on? Like, I like that they think that Xie Lian is still immortal at this point. They just think he's like a priest at this temple. They don't think he's like a deity or anything like that, which we'll talk about that speech. Oh my gosh. We'll talk about that speech. And then I like that Xie Lian's like, I kind of do need help, but he's like, he goes to Qi Ying, and Qi Ying is still, even though Qi Ying said he was going to fight for him, he's still a little bit weakened from what's going on. And he's like, I'm going to give you an incorruptible chastity meatball. And Yishin's like, nope! I love that instantly snaps him out of reality. And he's like, oh God, no, I don't want one of those again. And he's like, oh, no. And I like that Xie Lian only did it to get him to like flash the big wave of spiritual aura to blind the Heaven's Eye. That was so genius. And they do make a note to say that it's not going to ruin his cultivation forever. Xie Lian wouldn't do that to somebody. I like that they say, no, this is just going to get him to not be able to use the eye for a couple days. That's all. He's still going to be able to cultivate. He just doesn't realize it, right? And the whole thing of him using the meatballs, I like when something that's a gimmick or a joke in a story actually has a legit plot purpose. That doesn't happen a lot with gimmicks and like comedic elements. It doesn't happen a lot, but MXTX finds a way to make it work. And I like that these like cement meatballs that were just as a joke of how bad Xie Lian's cooking is were actually used to not only like subdue Ling Wen with the Brocade Immortal, but also to get the monks and everybody to like back off. Like that was absolutely hilarious. I loved that. So they say that the Heaven's Eye is smoking, and then he's like, there's 4 people inside. Which one is him? The reveal that it was not Qi Rong that got them to come there, but Ling Wen. Oh, because I was so convinced it was Qi Rong, because that would make sense with what Qi Rong said, but then Qi Rong's a coward. Would he really have gone and put all those people together? Would he have? It should make sense now, because Qi Rong getting all of the guys to come after Hua Cheng, Qi Rong would know that if they didn't succeed in taking Hua Cheng down, Hua Cheng would go back and find Qi Rong and make him pay. Like, in hindsight, looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, no, Qi Rong is terrified of Hua Cheng. Like, Xie Lian just had to mention him showing up for him to be, like, freaked out. So, of course he wouldn't take a risk that would result in Hua Cheng killing him. That's not Qi Rong. Qi Rong does not take risks like that. He doesn't do anything unless it's guaranteed to be a success. So, in hindsight, looking back, it's like, oh, that makes total sense that it wasn't him to begin with. It was Ling Wen. That all makes sense, right? That all makes sense. But Xie Lian, and Hua Cheng. So Hua Cheng uses his deep voice to try to scare the cultivators, right? Hua Cheng with his sense or duty to protect Xie Lian. We're going to go back to that. And then Xie Lian saying, let me protect you. We're going to go back to that, but that's rather important at this point in the story, right? Because Hua Cheng's always been the one to like come in and save Xie Lian like at the last minute when Xie Lian least expected it. But now Xie Lian's like, no, you're the one in danger. I'm going to be the one to protect you. And we'll talk about this once the Poochi Shrine collapses. But yeah. So Xie Lian tries to call out, being like, don't you think that why are you listening to Qi Rong? He doesn't have your best interests in mind. And they're like, we don't know who you're talking about. Qi Rong did not get us to come here. And that's when Ling Wen confesses that it was them. Now, I do think it's what's evil about this. What's interesting about this, I say evil because I'm reading the page, is that Ruyi, the white bandage, we know nothing about Ruyi. All we've known is that it's Xie Lian's little pet. It's been around his arm. He uses it to bind others. No one in the heavenly realm seems to comment about Ruyi. Nobody seems to know it. If it truly has an essence of evil around it, no one comments about it. Nobody has brought it up before. So either they've not cared, or it's not been an essence enough for them to notice or worry about, or there's a lot of corruption in the heavenly realm, so it wouldn't be noticeable with all the corruption around them. Who knows? But there's this thing about Ruyi that's brought up. It's, again, just a line, just one sentence. But I was like, MXTX, at this point, I'm conditioned that MXTX bringing up that one little detail. I'm like, I want more info now. And she's going to make us wait. But what they say is he gets Ruyi to go after the villagers instead of Ling Wen. Which the moment that Ruyi leaves Ling Wen, I'm like, well, Ling Wen's getting away. The moment Ruyi unbinds itself from Ling Wen, I'm like, well, that's going to be it. That's the end of that. But they say, what spiritual tool is this? And they're like, was that a spiritual tool? How come it looks like a white cloth for hanging? It reeks of evil. So they call it a hanging cloth. A hanging cloth, and that it reeks of evil. So, I've had this theory for a little while that Ruyi was given to Xie Lian by Hua Cheng. And there's nothing really to back that up, just that it seems like Ruyi, it would seem poetic that Hua Cheng, in order to protect Xie Lian, gave him Ruyi, but Xie Lian doesn't realize that Ruyi was given to him by Hua Cheng, and that's going to be part of like the poetic romance of it all. But I thought that Ruyi was a spiritual tool. The cultivators seem to say, like, it looks like a cloth for hanging and reeks of evil. So, Xie Lian did not have Ruyi at the time of his first ascension at all. But he did by the time of his third ascension. And it didn't seem like Ruyi just came to him after the third ascension. So at some point between his first fall and the third ascension, he gained Ruyi. But I don't think he had Ruyi when he was the Goshi. I don't remember, but I don't think he had Ruyi when he was the Goshi. So it would be after that. So we don't know when he got Ruyi. But it supposedly looks like a cloth used for hanging people. And it reeks of evil. So I don't know where it came from or when he got it and what the circumstance was. I'm assuming we'll find out in the story. But it makes him just drops that little nugget of mystery there to be like, okay, well now just think about this for a while. What about Ruyi? Where does he come from? You know, where does he come from? Where does he go? I'm thinking of Cotton Eye Joe. But yeah, and Xie Lian just doesn't pay any attention to that little nugget of information. Who knows? And so Xie Lian, and what's worse is we don't get the chance to really think about the situation, because just as we, the audience, are questioning Ruyi and being like, well, wait, what about him? Ling Wen's leaving, and Xie Lian's like, wait, what are you doing? And Ling Wen's like, yeah, I'm gonna, and the thing of it is, Xie Lian's like, are you gonna break your vow? And Ling Wen's like, yes. I love that Hua Cheng told Xie Lian in the last chapter, said, Hua Cheng's like, you can't trust Ling Wen. They're cold-hearted and merciless. They're not going to listen to you. And Xie Lian's like, but we pinky promised. I just love Xie Lian's like, Hua Cheng, we pinky promised. Ling Wen's not going to go back on a pinky promise. And Ling Wen's like, I'm going back on the pinky promise. And Xie Lian's got the shocked Pikachu face like, what? But Ling Wen is so mysterious, right? Ling Wen is so mysterious because on the one hand, it seems like whatever the situation is, Ling Wen, they refuse to go to trial. But there's something that's missing, right? They're not as malicious as they could be. That's the part that's frustrating, is that if Ling Wen wanted to, you have Hua Cheng in this childlike state that is clearly weakened. Hua Cheng is afraid of a bunch of cultivating mortals right now. Hua Cheng is worried that a bunch of cultivating mortals are going to attack him. Ling Wen, if they know that, could by all means attack Hua Cheng right now and get him out of the way, and it wouldn't be a big deal. But they don't even try. They just want to get away. They want to take the Brocade Immortal and go. Which is bizarre to me, right? And then Qi Ying is tasked with fighting her. And I can't wait to see this animated in the Donghua if we get to it within a decade. If we ever get to this point in the Donghua, like seeing Ling Wen fighting Qi Ying while wearing this big Brocade Immortal robe would be so amazing. Like, I would absolutely love it. And I would live for it. So I was like, come on. I just love the idea. And plus, the moment that Qi Ying gets, like, shot through the roof of the Poochi Shrine, I'm like, well, the Poochi Shrine's going to collapse. That's not going to be good. I had held out hope and then just... And Hua Cheng can see that she's put on the robe. He's like, be careful. And I don't know if Hua Cheng saw it or if Hua Cheng, because it's a ghostly apparition, or if Hua Cheng was like, she's acting this way because she clearly has the Brocade Immortal on. Now, the Brocade Immortal, the thing that makes me think that there's more to the story than this is, one, Ling Wen tells Bai Jing to not attack. Like, don't fight like that. Like, Ling Wen is like talking calmly and collectively to the soldier that she supposedly killed and wants to escape with this soldier she supposedly killed. There's more to the story. There has to be. There has to be more to the story. There's more to it, right? Because Xie Lian's like, well, if you killed someone, why would you be so interested in going back to find them? Why would you want to do that? It's weird, right? The weird thing is, the thing that's kind of crazy about it is it has like the same air to it. Ling Wen and Bai Jing have the same air to them as Heshan and the Windmaster. And that's weird, right? Like the same kind of vibe I'm getting from Ling Wen and Bai Jing is the same vibe I'm getting from Heshan and the Windmaster. And not in terms of like, just in terms of if we think of Heshan and Ling Wen in the same way. Heshan had always targeted the Windmaster, but seemed to somewhat care about them at the same time. Like, Heshan wanted to get revenge on the Windmaster, but it was really targeted more towards Shiwudu. And so Heshan has kind of this weird, strange, like, protectiveness around the Windmaster that's bizarre. And kind of like, is this just something that developed out of like Stockholm Syndrome over time of you posing as the Earthmaster and hanging around the Windmaster? We don't know. But that same kind of weird protective pseudo aura is with Ling Wen and Bai Jing. Like Ling Wen telling Bai Jing, like, don't fight like that. Let's just go. Let's just leave. Let's just run away. It's got a similar vibe, right? And so that's so bizarre, which makes me think there's more to the story. Like, what's going on? Why does Ling Wen want to protect Bai Jing and take him away? Why didn't Ling Wen, using the Brocade Immortal, destroy them all, right? So there's, even though I don't trust Ling Wen at all at this point because she's clearly lied several times, I do think there's more to the story, and I can't wait to find out what it is. But just like with Qi Rong, she's vanished with Qi Ying fighting him and gone off, so it may be halfway through this volume before we get any of that information, but I have no doubt we're going to get it. It's just a matter of when, right? I do love that we established that Qi Ying and Xie Lian, who are both martial deities, like they both get, where's that toy? There we go. They both get like wowed by beautiful attacks. And so when Ling Wen like blocks the attack, it's not really Ling Wen blocking it, but it's Bai Jing blocking it using Ling Wen's body. They're both like, that was so beautiful. Like Ling Wen's not beautiful in this case. It's the attack. It's like, you guys are a bunch of bros. What a bunch of nerds. And so, yeah. So Xie Lian questions, they're like, who would have thought after she chopped the head and limbs off the Brocade Immortal, it would allow itself to be used by her? That's the thing. Yeah, there's just something else there. Because Ling Wen, if she's truly the murderer of Bai Jing, and it was done out of malice, why would Bai Jing listen to her? What's going on? So, like I said, there's something else there. She doesn't want to linger. She wants to get away. Obviously, she doesn't want to get outed in the heavenly realm. I can't blame her because she'd get banished and curse shackled. But there's more to the story. The question for me is, if there is more to the story, one, why did she not say anything? And two, why did she try to give it to Yi Yun? Or did Yi Yun get a hold of the Brocade Immortal on accident? There's just so much missing to the puzzle with this story that I feel like we, the audience, are meant to want to think of Ling Wen as villainous in this moment, kind of like Shiwudu, but there has to be something else to it. And we just don't know what it is. Gah! So yeah, we'll see. And in the back of my head, I'm wondering if she is, we talked about the famous stories, if she's the princess who slit her throat, but that doesn't really make sense because Ling Wen didn't slit her throat to our knowledge. So don't know, but we'll find out. I just like that Chan Yizhen, I got very Lan Chan-Chu vibes in this set of chapters because, when we had the Green Ghost back in Volume 2, Lan Chan-Chu ran off chasing after Qi Rong. And that's the last time we saw Lan Chan-Chu for a while. And here, Qi Ying chased after Ling Wen, and I have a feeling that's going to be the last we see of him for a while. And it's like, I like Qi Ying a lot, and I feel like we just got to meet him. And I'm sad that he's leaving and we're going to have to wait and not see him for a while. That's just so frustrating. Like, ugh. But yeah. So Xie Lian being dumbfounded. And the thing of it is, the thing that's interesting about this whole thing with Xie Lian and the house crumbling is that Xie Lian is just devastated. He's like, my shrine that I put so much time and energy into, it was just starting to look decent. And y'all ruined it. The whole shrine just completely collapses. And what's sad about it is that had been Xie Lian's, like, sanctuary. That had been him and San Long's sanctuary. Is that the shrine collapsing means that there is no safe place. Because, yeah, I'd really gotten used to going, like, whenever we had something bad happen in the story, my thought was, oh, we'll just go to the Poochi shrine and they'll be safe there. Like, they can regroup and huddle up and, like, get themselves motivated and go back into the conflict. Like, it was like a little checkpoint. You know, in a video game, there's, like, always a safe house where you, like, revive your energy and you just save the game there and then you go on to the boss. That's how Poochi Shrine felt. It felt like a little checkpoint for the game. And you were like, okay, well, we'll come back here, rest up, and then go face the boss. But now it's gone. And I'm like, there's no safe place. And you would think going to the Ghost City would be the safe place now. And Hua Cheng's wanted him to go to the Ghost City for who knows how long. But with Mount Tonglu opening up, that place isn't secure either. So they don't really have a choice. They don't have anywhere to go to. So I'm going to put Ling Wen and the Brocade Immortal here because what the heck is going on there? But yeah, so basically Xie Lian and Hua Cheng are going to be a bunch of vagabonds. They're just going to be a bunch of vagabonds walking from place to place with no home. It's going to be basically how we started this series. We're back to the beginning where Xie Lian was just a scrap collector going from town to town. He just has a disguised Supreme Ghost with him now, you know. But this scene where Xie Lian gets mad, and I have thoughts about it, because he's like, I knew none of my houses would last for over half a year, but this is too much. And Hua Cheng tries to comfort him, being like, it's just a house. There's plenty around. We'll just go find somewhere else. And Xie Lian's like, he's trying to stay strong, and he's like, I know it's just a house, but I put a lot of effort into this, had a lot of heart. And then that's when the Heaven's Eye says, who is your master? What generation do you belong to? What temple are you registered under? What sort of God do you worship? Now, Xie Lian plays this entire speech off as a joke after the fact, but I don't know if it is a joke. I think for a second it's very serious, because it is a moment of Xie Lian's pride and his former self, like, exploding out of him. That line of him being 800, older than all of you, when he says, if you don't know my name, you're ignorant of the world and you're unlearned. I do not worship gods. I am God. That is such a powerful, powerful set of lines. But then he backtracks and he's like, well, everybody, please forget what I said. I'm just only a scrap collector. I have a theory, and my theory is that that line, I don't worship gods, I am God, is going to come up again, but it's going to be serious. Because he tries to play it off as a joke. He's like, oh, I did it so that you would open your jaws up so I could throw the meatball in your mouth and trick you. I didn't really mean all of that. Because you go with Xie Lian, from him being the crown prince and being proud at the beginning, what we see in volume 3. And then we have him being the scrap collector, right? And being devoid of all of that. And now we're at the point where he is Xie Lian, the scrap collector. And I think we're going to get to where he is Xie Lian again, right? Only sure of himself. I feel like it's going to come all full circle with Xie Lian, where he started out as the crown prince and he was very arrogant. And he thought that he could save everyone, do all these things. He was very foolish and young. And then he has to fall and hit rock bottom, which is when he becomes a scrap collector. And he sheds all of that pride from him, and he's just this lonely husk of a heavenly official who has no pride, no shame, nothing, connecting him to anything luxurious. He's just at rock bottom. And I feel like he's slowly been working his way back up with the help of Hua Cheng to realizing that, no, he is a worthwhile person. He's developed these friendships with the Windmaster, with Qi Ying, etc. And when he gives this speech, it seems like he's gaining some of that confidence and pride back. But then he regresses and uses it as a trick. And he regresses back and denies it again. But I feel like by the climax of this novel, the climax of this series, Xie Lian is going to make that proclamation again, but it's going to be serious this time. There's not going to be a little joke after it where he's like, oh, just kidding, I'm still a scrap collector. No, I feel like by the end of it, he's going to make that proclamation again, and it's going to be serious. And he's going to be like, no, I'm Xie Lian, bitches, here I am, I'm a heavenly official, deal. And it's going to be serious. I hope so, because for that moment I was like, oh, Xie Lian got his pride back. He's like got his confidence back, and then he backed off a little bit, and I was like, oh, Xie Lian. But I want him, and I think Hua Cheng wants him to be that way too. I think Hua Cheng is like, don't sell yourself short and make yourself feel like less than other people. He's like, that's not who you are. That's not the heavenly official that I worship. And so I think it's going to come back and be serious in the future at some point. But again, like volume 8 or something. We'll see. We'll see. I'm making predictions way ahead of time. When there is so much that can happen in one volume alone, I shouldn't be doing that. But you can't help it, right? Can't help it. So he gets the meatballs to all spin into their mouths, which is absolutely hilarious. I love that he changes them into incorruptible chastity pellets. Not meatballs, pellets. And he's like, they're exceedingly poisonous, and you have to have 81 cups of clean water to get them out of your system. And they're like, oh my God. And everybody freaks out, and most of the crowd starts to leave. And Ling Wen is like, Bai Jing, are you going to kill him? There's no need to fight anymore. Let's just go. Like there's an angle of Ling Wen wearing the brocade immortal that can't quite control Bai Jing's ghost too much. So it's like, okay. And then Xie Lian forces the meatball into Ling Wen's mouth. I like that just gets Ling Wen to be like, never mind, let's go. And so Chan Yizhen chases after Ling Wen. Xie Lian is forced to grab a hold of Hua Cheng, hold on to him, and run away. Right? He had to leave first and think later. So Hua Cheng embraces Xie Lian tightly as they leave. And there's a line here, for some reason the scene felt familiar to Xie Lian, but he had no time to reminisce about the past. I feel like in that moment, Xie Lian grabbing a hold of child Hua Cheng is reminiscent of when he first grabbed Hua Cheng off the float and ran away with him. I feel like maybe it's that. It's either that or a scene we've not covered yet in the flashback of Xie Lian's life. But my thing is with Hua Cheng being a kid. Hua Cheng is a child now, in child form. And I'm just saying, he could use this opportunity, use this moment to jog Xie Lian's memory. I'm just saying, he could jog his memory. He could get him to think about things. I could bring back the past, could make Xie Lian. If Hua Cheng's going to be stuck in this form for a while, then he could definitely try to use it to jog Xie Lian's memory about him as a kid and Xie Lian rescuing him and being with him back from the events of Volume 3. Could do that. I'm just saying. Also, I feel that Hua Cheng taking this form as a child is a very secure way for us to not have sexy times with Xie Lian or Hua Cheng for however long in this volume or the rest of the story this happens. But it shows Hua Cheng in adult form here with Xie Lian, which makes me think that maybe he will become an adult again at some point in the volume, but we don't know when, we don't know how. That also would imply that Mount Tonglu seals up, so who knows? So there's that. I don't know, but I feel like this is a good way to secure that Hua Cheng is not going to try anything with Xie Lian while they're in child form, because they can't, and that it will open up the opportunity for Xie Lian to talk with Hua Cheng without the fear of it escalating to something, right? Because Hua Cheng and Xie Lian, they need to communicate. They need to talk about what happened that night. Xie Lian's denying it, doesn't want to talk about it. They need to talk about it and clear it up. And I feel like they may be able to do that while Hua Cheng is in this child form, because there's no risk of things getting out of hand or escalating sexually while he's in this state. So we think. But yeah, so Xie Lian, God, Xie Lian, the thing about it that's so sad is he gets to the communication array, and the very first thing he does without even thinking is contact Ling Wen to tell her that he's like, Ling Wen, something's happened. And Ling Wen's like, I know. And Xie Lian's like, oh my God, I'm sorry to bother you. It was you. So it's so awful that Xie Lian, the first thing he does is to try to tell Ling Wen about the situation, but the situation is about Ling Wen. So he's like, oh shit, yeah, no, never mind. And that just shows you like how often we've had Xie Lian through the course of this story get a hold of Ling Wen. And now he can't do that because she's the one that's kind of being targeted in all this. And it's like, ugh. And so then he like goes to the heavenly court to tell them about things. And Feng Xin is like, it's really chaotic here. Like everything's going crazy because I just picture the SpongeBob meme where everybody's like throwing papers in the air and there's fires everywhere and everybody's running because it's such a great setup by MXTX. You literally painted Ling Wen up to be the one keeping the heavenly realm together in terms of intel and information. Like Ling Wen was set up as a crux in the communication system of the heavenly realm. And it's such a great setup by MXTX because we've seen time and time again in this story, Ling Wen being confronted by the other heavenly officials to gain information, Ling Wen looking up information, Ling Wen threading things together, Ling Wen making phone calls through the communication array, Ling Wen making connections. Like Ling Wen has been a essential intel crux. And now that Ling Wen is out of the picture, it's just chaos. It's like when you work in a business and your IT person like is out with the flu and suddenly the internet goes down and everybody's systems start messing up and nobody knows what to do and you're just sitting there like, well, I guess we can't do anything. And then it just devolves into chaos and the IT person's like, I'll get back whenever. And just, that's what it's like. So luckily, Xie Lian is able to tell Feng Xin about Ling Wen carrying the brocade immortal. She's wearing it, watch out for her. And Feng Xin's like, that happened? That's happened? Like, that line, that's happened. How is that in the actual text? Is that even, how is that in there? He's like, oh, that's what happened. Okay. So yeah, it's like, that's what happened. That's what we get to, right? Mm-hmm. Ling Wen created the upper court's communication array. She must have destroyed it and it'll have to be entirely rebuilt. Yeah, so someone is going to have to rebuild the whole network. And that's not going to be easy or be something quick. So, again, Junwoo's just like, should have had an understudy. Should have had an intern. Interning with Ling Wen in case if something bad happened, right? In case if something bad happened. But yeah, so everything's kind of in chaos. And like I said in the last set, these heavenly officials that are really important are dropping like flies. So things are being thrust into chaos, right? So then Hua Cheng's like, you know what? It's no use. Hua Cheng being the one to tell Xie Lian about the communication array being destroyed and needing to be rebuilt is actually fascinating because that suggests that, as my dogs are chasing each other, that suggests that Hua Cheng knows this intel that Xie Lian did not. So how did he get this intel? Interesting. So then Hua Cheng's like, it's fine. Junwoo. I like that Hua Cheng gives Junwoo credit. He's like, it's fine. He's like, not all of the upper court is idiots. Not all of them are idiots. They'll figure something out. Junwoo's in the heavenly court too. They'll be fine. Like he actually gives Junwoo some credit. Hua Cheng's like, hey, the main head honchos up there, they'll figure something out. Not all of them are morons. Someone there will be able to do something. And Xie Lian's like, okay. He's like, well, I can't do anything else right now, so I guess we'll just have to trust Chan Yizhen going after Ling Wen and just go from there. So, Hua Cheng offers Xie Lian a bone. He's like, if we want to investigate the Brocade Immortals still, we need to do so fast. We need to hurry and try to catch up with Chan Yizhen. Like, Hua Cheng knows this is important to Xie Lian, and he knows how much Xie Lian doesn't like to leave things unsaid or unsettled. And he's like, let's go solve this mystery, sir. And Xie Lian's like, that's not going to work now. He's like, Qi Ying's chasing after her. That's all we can do. And he's like, your form keeps changing. Like, are you okay? And yeah, he went from being like a 16-year-old boy to being like 12. And oh my God, Hua Cheng's like, oh no, this is just a temporary plan. He's like, when this whole thing is over, my old self will return. I'm just downgrading this child form so that it's easier for you. And I think, honestly, I don't think Hua Cheng has been slowly getting younger because his power is depleting. I think Hua Cheng maybe noticed that Xie Lian was having a hard time carrying him around and he wanted to keep getting carried by Xie Lian. So he just made himself look younger to like appease the situation. But also, him being 11 or 12 is about the first time that they met. So if he's trying to re-jog Xie Lian's memory about, meeting Hua Cheng as a kid, this would be about the age that you would want to do so. But I just love that Xie Lian's like squeezing his cheeks, being like, Gege, you're so cute. And Hua Cheng's like, I don't like this form. I just love Xie Lian where he's like, are you going to turn into a toddler? Or even better, a little baby? I love Xie Lian being like, I want to carry you around as a baby. Like just Xie Lian being that little hint of kind of, parental instinct with Xie Lian is interesting. He's like, I just want to carry you as a little baby around. And Hua Cheng's like, no. He's like, that's not going to happen. I can't protect you as a baby. He's like, you never disappointed me. That, San Long's heart was just like swelling when Xie Lian's like, you never disappointed me. You never disappointed me. I'm really happy to have this chance to protect you. And Hua Cheng's like, I hate looking like this. Because, this is reminding Hua Cheng of his childhood that he is so very much tried to get away from. Like, Hua Cheng, we assume, is at his lowest point in the events of Volume 3. And so he's, from my perspective, my theory is Hua Cheng has tried to develop himself. Because as a Supreme Ghost, he can look however he wants to. He can change his appearance at will. He's wanted to make himself look like this handsome man for Xie Lian that Xie Lian would want to be with. And him as a child was like his lowest point. So he doesn't want to relive that experience. And it's like, of course you wouldn't, right? He's like, I don't want you to see me in such a helpless form. And I absolutely didn't want you to have to protect me. Because, that's been Hua Cheng's case. Hua Cheng knows that Xie Lian has been like at rock bottom and needed someone to protect him and bring him up. And so it seems like Hua Cheng, his biggest fear or thing he loves most is being helpless and unable to protect the one he loves. That seems to be Hua Cheng's biggest fear, is that he's helpless and won't be able to protect Xie Lian. Because in all the other situations, when Xie Lian has like done the soul switching spell, when he's gone off and done his own thing, Hua Cheng's been like, hey, no, wait, I want to be there for you. Like, Hua Cheng, for whatever reason, what we don't know is why he's not been able to be with Xie Lian before, but for whatever reason, now that he is able to be with him, he doesn't want to leave him in a state of danger. So, like anytime Xie Lian is offered to like jump into the fray, jump into the fire, Hua Cheng's like, no, I'll take it. I'll do it. But now he's like, I'm at a point where I can't help but feel helpless and I hate this feeling. And Xie Lian's like, well, it's fine. He's like, you've seen me in so many messes. He's like, you're not completely useless. You're just temporarily storing your powers. That's fine. And I love that Hua Cheng buries his face in Xie Lian's shoulder and he's like, it's not the same. He's like, I have to be the strongest. I have to make myself stronger than anyone else. Only then can I. And that trace of abiding fatigue, like he's been working so hard to get here. So, Hua Cheng, for some reason, decides he has to be the strongest. And only then can he. I feel like the answer to that, the answer to that statement is Hua Cheng believes that only by being the strongest can he be worthy of Xie Lian's love. Can he protect Xie Lian and let him know he's worthy? Because I think he holds Xie Lian on such a high pedestal and thinks Xie Lian only deserves to be with the strongest person. He's like, unless I can be that, I'm not worthy of his love. He's like, only then can I protect you and be with you. And it's like, okay, but I just like, I want him to communicate that with Xie Lian, and I want Xie Lian, but he doesn't want to say it because he's afraid Xie Lian's not going to feel mutual about it. And it's just like, you two need to admit you like each other. And you're not going to do that this volume, I'm sure, but and so he says, wait for me, Your Highness. He's like, let me protect you this once. He's like, you don't need to be strong every waking moment of every day. You've always been the strongest. Just give me some face and let me protect you. And I love that it's a long time before Cheng lifts his head from his hug. And he places his hands on Xie Lian's shoulder, watching him. He's like, wait for me. And Xie Lian's like, I'll wait for you. Give me a little time. I'll be back very soon. And he's like, no rush. I love that little moment between them. I love just Hua Cheng hugging in Xie Lian's shoulder. And he lifts his head up. He's like, will you wait for me to come back and protect you? And Xie Lian's like, yes. I'm like, it's so freaking cute. So cute. I love it. But Xie Lian brings up a good point. He's like, you don't always have to be the strongest. What I love about this is that it puts, again, one of the reasons I love BL so much is that in a lot of heterosexual romances, the female character is often like not seen on equal playing field as the male character, or she's always like, oh, I have to be saved by you no matter what. You know, the climax of the story is she has the male character help her or whatever. And it's frustrating as a female reader. And one thing that draws me to BL is that there's such an equality in relationships. And the sad thing is because they're two men characters, right? And so I like this moment because Xie Lian is constantly needed to be protected or helped by Hua Cheng, or he's relied on Hua Cheng. And we've associated like a feminine energy with Xie Lian. So my fear for a little while was that Xie Lian was like, gonna need to be protected by Hua Cheng, and that was kind of like he was gonna be that female insert there that you normally see in heterosexual relationships and stories. But what I like about this is that Xie Lian's like, no, I'm gonna protect you. You're fine. Like, you don't have to be strong all the time. Like, we're equals. I'm a martial deity. It'll be okay. And Hua Cheng, it's not necessarily that Hua Cheng feels that he needs to protect Xie Lian, but he wants to, because he loves him that much. So it's that reason that I love stories like this, where it's putting Xie Lian on an equal playing field as Hua Cheng. Xie Lian, in a lot of ways, only relies upon Hua Cheng because Hua Cheng seemingly has the secret knowledge that Xie Lian doesn't have. It's not that Xie Lian's not as strong as Hua Cheng. It's the fact that he's been shackled that is a big part of it, but also because Xie Lian just doesn't have the knowledge of what's going on that Hua Cheng does. So, but I love that. I love these, like, he's like, I'll wait for you, just let me protect you for a little while you're storing up your strength. And Hua Cheng's like, fine. Fine, I'll do it. I guess I'll do it. It'll be okay. And so the two come to this small town. And I just love the idea. It felt very Modao Zushi. It felt very much like Wei Wuxian holding Ayan's hand, walking through the streets. But it's just Xie Lian holding Hua Cheng's hand and like walking through town. It's so cute. And Xie Lian asks if, I like that he takes this opportunity to ask a little bit of expositional info about Mount Tonglu. He's like, is the black water the same? And Hua Cheng's like, no. I like that he has like one hand behind his back as he's walking. Like, he looks very elegant and dignified even as a 10-year-old child. And he's like, our situation is different. Our training methods are different. Our ways of resisting provocation are also different. He's like, even though we're two supreme ghosts, we come at it from very different angles. And he's like, he hibernates to resist aggravation. And Xie Lian's like, well, that makes sense. He's ate all this food like a big old bear before hibernation. So, of course, that would lend to that. But I'm not going to lie. Xie Lian doesn't know where the Windmaster is. A big part of me is like the Beef Leaf shipper in me that doesn't know if Beef Leaf is even still a possibility is like, what if Heshan like took the Windmaster with him and was like, I'm gonna hibernate now, and just like did a Modao Zushi thing where he like made the Windmaster like sleep next to him. What if that? And I'm so conflicted about that because the Beef Leaf shipper in me is like, oh, that'd be so romantic like Modao Zushi. But then the other part of me is like, no, the Windmaster just watched him like rip his brother's head off and he's probably really mad at him, so it's probably not mutual. What do we do with this? I don't want him to be Stockholm syndromed into liking him. So I'm very torn. I'm very torn about how I feel about that possibility if that was a thing, but I need, just like with Ling Wen and the Brocade Immortal, I need more info. I don't know when or if we're getting it. So it's just, it's frustrating, right? It's a very frustrating situation. So Hua Cheng says that when the Blackwater was mortal, he suffered the torment of jail. So people had said in comments that Heshan died of starvation when he was mortal, and I couldn't remember that, so maybe it was a spoiler. I don't know, but I guess it's confirmed in this chapter. And so what is interesting is the notion that Heshan devoured all the water ghouls because he wanted to build up the power to resist Shi Wudu and his water abilities. So it's like, oh, so that all makes sense, right? He wanted to be able to break his water magic, so he ate the water ghouls in order to do that, right? He picked his meals intentionally. And then when he ate too much, he'd just sleep it off. And so what's curious about all this is the connection to Qirong. That Hua Cheng is like, that's why Qirong eats humans, because he was trying to imitate He Shan, which is such a weird thing, because Xie Lian wonders, he's like, how can feeding on humans be the same as feeding on ghosts? It's probably not. Qirong just probably didn't know that it was different. But it's also fascinating that Qirong eating humans, because you look at He Shan ate water ghouls to resist the powers of Shi Wudu and the powers of water. So why was Qirong eating humans? What part of humanity was he trying to resist the power of? That's so bizarre and interesting. Like was there a secret insecurity with Qirong, probably, that he had against humanity that he thought eating humans would rid him of? I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to read that situation, but it's fascinating. And then hanging the corpses in the trees, Qirong was trying to imitate Hua Cheng's ability to make the crimson rain, and Hua Cheng's like, yeah, he thought if he just hung corpses up, it would imitate it, but it wasn't. And Xie Lian realizes that Qirong was just trying to appear as strong as the two supremes, but he didn't really have any of the class or understanding of why they were the way that they were. Yeah, we've established that He Shan derives all of his power from hatred, and Hua Cheng derives all his power from love. That's the theory. And so Qirong is kind of in this weird state as a savage ghost where Qirong doesn't really understand true love, I don't think, like Hua Cheng does, and he doesn't understand true hatred like He Shan, because Qirong was always kind of spoiled. Qirong was just kind of like a spoiled brat who didn't get his way, but he doesn't understand hatred to the extent of He Shan, or love to the extent of Hua Cheng. So all Qirong can do is just imitate, and that's not exactly the same. So that's so fascinating that it's brought up like this. And then there's Bai Wusheng, which, who knows? If we have love, hatred, imitation, what is Bai Wusheng? We don't know. That's just all going to come back at some point, right? Who knows? I feel like, again, we get so much with Hua Cheng, He Shan, and Qirong in this story, but Bai Wusheng is just this big question mark that MXTX is like, at some point I'll tell you. I was like, at some point when it's relevant and it's gonna rip our hearts out, I'll tell you. Just hi. I just feel like Bai Wusheng is like Alaska off of RuPaul's Drag Race. Hi. So Xie Lian worries about the Windmaster and Guzi, because right now Guzi's still with Qirong as far as Xie Lian knows, and the Windmaster's with He Shan, and Xie Lian's like, I just hope they're both safe. I think they are. I think they are both safe, right? In the weirdest of ways, I don't know how to feel about this, but there's that toy. In the weirdest of ways, I feel like He Shan is not going to hurt the Windmaster, and Qirong is not going to hurt Guzi from this like Stockholm syndromed bond that they've formed, which is so bizarre. But I feel like that's the case. Like, they're not going to hurt him because they formed this relationship with them by being in proximity with them for so long. So we'll see, right? And so then Xie Lian asks about the ghost city. He's like, will anyone bother it? And Hua Cheng's like, no. He's like, I've locked up the ghost city when I left and leaked false information of my whereabouts. They're not going to be able to find me, and nobody's going to bother it. Which is, it's good to know he's locked it up. So maybe Long Ying is still there. Maybe he's not gone to Mount Tonglu. Maybe we can assume. But I like the idea that Hua Cheng suggests. He's like, people are so afraid of me, they're not going to go in the ghost city because they're not sure if I'll be there or not. So they're just going to leave it alone. Fear will keep them away, or so we think, right? And so Xie Lian's like, well, you leaked all this false information, but Ling Wen leaked real information. He's like, how was she able to see through your disguise? And Hua Cheng doesn't really answer that question. He's just like, yeah, who knows how she saw the disguise. That is a question that, again, I feel like we're going to get answers to. How did she see through Hua Cheng? Because Xie Lian's like, even though I saw through it, it took me a long time. She was able to do it instantly. So is it just simply because Ling Wen suggests that Xie Lian and Hua Cheng are together? Is it like a Pei Ming thing where Ling Wen's like, no, we kind of figured out you guys have a thing for each other. You need to really talk about this. Like, you know, is that the case? Is it something so simple as that? Maybe. But then Hua Cheng asks, yeah, how did your lips get covered in the essence of evil? And Xie Lian just like, I like he grips his hand and realizes that he's gripped Hua Cheng's hand, like, oh, you hit the nail on the head. And he's like, oh, well, like, Sun Long, look over there. I love it. Xie Lian's like, look over there, clothing. Let's distract you. I'm going to give you this MXTX. I'm going to let you distract. I'm going to let you get away with it for now, but you're trying my patience. I know it's going to take so long for them to communicate, but I'm like, because once they do communicate, it's going to come out that Xie Lian likes Hua Cheng. And because Xie Lian is thinking it's more what I did to you than what you did to me. And I'm like, it's pretty mutual. He kissed you first, Xie Lian, but you did kiss back, so it's mutual. I mean, come on. And then Hua Cheng's like, gay, and then he pulled him into the store. Now, with that being said, we're now officially into volume 5. There are 2 things I want to show you all. One is the image of Xie Lian holding Hua Cheng, which is really cute. And I think it's very fitting because it's Xie Lian protecting him. He's got like the little chick on his head, which is really cute. But it's him protecting Hua Cheng, which I think is perfect for this volume because that's the whole MO. And then the only image we get out of these chapters is really, really cute. And it's of Xie Lian dressing up Hua Cheng in the store. That is absolutely adorable for a lot of reasons. One, because Hua Cheng is not imitating Long Ying, it's actually just him posing that form. He doesn't have the bandages or the human face disease on anymore. It literally looks like a little Hua Cheng. He has like the little braids on there, but his outfit is pretty much just Hua Cheng's outfit, only in child form. He even has the little silver chains on his boots. He just looks like a little tiny version of Hua Cheng, and it's so freaking cute. I love Xie Lian's just there like, oh my god, just freaking out, right? And all the ladies in the shop are like, oh my god. And they translated what the ladies said in the shop. The translation I have, they say something like, what do they say there? It's just like I-O, and I was like, it was hard to pronounce, but here they say, oh my, and I was like, He looked like a little grown up and nothing like a child. Because yeah, that's essentially, Hua Cheng is just, he's in the small form, so he can't do anything. I'm like, that drawing is so freaking cute. I love that. And I just love that Xie Lian's like trying to find change for the clothes. He's like, let me find some change. And Hua Cheng just like sits a gold foil on the counter and he's like, let's go. Like just like such a little pimp. I'm like, oh my god. He's like a little sugar daddy. He's like, I got this. It's freaking cute. But yeah, he gets all the clothes on there. And of course, Hua Cheng is not gonna, it's a way to satiate Hua Cheng for the moment by being like, look, I dressed you up. And Hua Cheng's like, it's great. It's great. And so then as they're leaving, he's like, let's go, Gege. And then they round the corner and suddenly Hua Cheng backtracks and bumps into Xie Lian's arms. And they see the shadow of a figure in the crowd. Okay, so I was a little confused when I first read this, but okay. Coincidentally, the store owner asked, would you two still like to purchase something else? And Xie Lian's like, yes, bring me that robe. So they're going to go back in the store and try to hide from whoever it is outside. Okay. For a second, I was like, when they said, bring me that robe, I thought maybe like Hua Cheng accidentally put on, like Ling Wen deposited the brocade immortal and Hua Cheng put it back on. But no. They're going back in the store to hide from whoever is out in the street. But who could it be? Who could it be? So I'm not going to read the back of the book because I never read the back of the book. I always wait till the very end, but we are officially on volume 5. On the inside cover, the only thing, I'm not looking at the table of contents. The only thing I'll say is there a red maple leaf, fitting for Hua Cheng. There's a maple leaf on the outside here. And then we have looks like the opening of a temple. And there's birds and cherry blossoms. But that's all we get. So this cover is quite mysterious. Like if you look back, I put volume 4 back on the shelf. Volume 1 was the wedding scene. And the silver butterfly was on the spine for Hua Cheng. Volume 2 was the flower, right? Let me look back over there. Yep, Volume 2 was the flower, the image that is for Xie Lian, and Volume 2's cover was him holding Hua Cheng as a kid, prefacing the flashback we were going to get in Volume 3. Volume 3, or Volume 2 was mostly the flashback, and then it carried over into Volume 3. Volume 3 was the kiss underwater, and the red pearl was on the cover, which the red pearl, we still don't know a lot about the red pearl. It was tied to Long Ying as well as Hua Cheng, because Hua Cheng stole the one pearl and Long Ying was given the other one. So still some mystery with that, but the kiss on the cover was pretty. I feel like up until this cover, everything has been pretty much representative of what's happened in the volume. The wedding in Volume 1, Xie Lian rescuing Hua Cheng in Volume 2, Hua Cheng kissing Xie Lian in Volume 3, and then Volume 4, the spine has the piece of parchment, which is representative of their kiss there. Excuse me, my throat is clogged. But this volume here, the maple leaf obviously seems to represent Hua Cheng, but this cover is the most mysterious because this is just a simple gesture of Xie Lian fixing Hua Cheng's hair with the red bow tie, right? But there's nothing given away, and they're clearly not at the Poochi Shrine because Poochi Shrine's been destroyed. So, what? There's so much mystery surrounding this cover, and it's like the tamest cover of all so far. So I'm like, Volume 5 seems like it's going to be quite interesting already. Because we have Xie Lian walking around with a child version of Hua Cheng. The Brocade Immortal is loose with Ling Wen. Qi Ying is battling her. We don't know what's happening in the Heavenly Realm. We don't know where Heshan and the Windmaster are. We don't know where Qirong and Guzi are. Everything is just scattered and a mess and chaos. And welcome to Volume 5. So, yeah. I actually got a pretty good discussion out of this set of chapters, right? Over an hour. Nice. So next week, we're going to be looking at chapters 137 to 139, pages 21 through 53. A nice chunk for this start of the volume. We're just barely in it. We're in a tiny little bit. This volume is bigger than Volume 4. I want to say, when does the glossary start? On page 411. Yeah, this Volume 4 ended at like page 380 or something. So this is a nice little, like at least 30 or 40 pages longer than the last volume. So Volume 4 went by way too quickly. But honestly, I think that my order of favorite volumes, it just goes in order now. It's Volume 4, 3, 2, 1. That's where we're at. Now, if the story keeps getting better and better, we'll go from there. But Volume 4 and 3... I would put Volumes 4 and 3 on equal footing for different reasons. They're like apples and oranges, but Volumes 3 and 4 are my favorites so far. I like Volume 2 a lot. Volume 1's my least favorite, even though it's really good. But Volume 4, the twists and turns, y'all. So, please no spoilers, hints or clues, but I'm very curious to know your thoughts down below about these chapters. I'm very curious. And then, yeah, we have lots of questions, lots of things to think about, but we'll tackle some of them next week. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care. And yeah, I'll be back next week with Volume 5, chapters 137 to 139 of Heaven's Official's Blessing. Bye.